good, everyone? It's Gavin or Tweek.
What's good? What's good? What's good? It's Marcus or Pink.
What up? What up? It's Charles or Chuck.
What's going on? You got Matt or Haz. Another week, another episode of Tweek Talks. What's going? Hey, all in the building again. That's something to celebrate. That's pretty good. We've been consistent. I like it. What's going on, everyone? Good to see y'all. How you been doing, Charles?
Another storm is a front here in Hawaii, but it's definitely not as bad as the last storm. But apparently it's supposed to get really bad in the next couple days. So, yeah, just prepping for that, making sure everything in the yard is buckled down and nothing will get too crazy with the wind and the rain. What about you, Pink?
Bro, that is it's so weird hearing that because like we're in the same boat on the East Coast. We're like, well, I guess we're all in different boats because for me, it was like 80 degrees for like 2 or 3 days in a row, and then it was snowing earlier. But now it stopped snowing and it's mad sunny outside. So I don't know what's going on, man. Like
It's over, bro.
Weather been wilding out everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's just, but life's good. Yeah, I don't have anything special. Like I was trying to think of something special while Chuck was talking. I got nothing. Nothing. Just solid life. All right, Haz, bring it in, buddy.
I got nothing. No, I'm just kidding. What's up?
Oh no, you bro. You know I see the Italy baseball.
Bro, I've been baseballed out of my brain, dude. I'm
Baseball
so
filled.
pumped. I love World Baseball Classic. I've been excited. I said don't sleep on Italy, and guess what? They're 4-0 in pools, beat USA, and USA didn't know the damn rules. So if you've been following World Baseball Classic, it's been it's like a Bravo TV show right now. It's so dramatic. It's awesome. So baseball's back, man. Like I've been feeling good. I've been really doing a good job, and Gavin can attest to this, of getting my sleep schedule actually fucking fixed and not like, oh, I'll be good for like 2 days in a row. It's been over a full week where I'm like, I'm going to bed at like 10:30, 9:30 p.m. Gavin texts me. He's like, yo, you want to play games? I was like, nope, I'm going to bed. See you later. I'm reading my book. I'm falling asleep. I was tired, bro. I know. I feel bad because I love hanging out. I think Mars called it like gamer hours. I was like, I love that. But dude, I feel so good when I wake up now. Like it's crazy how big of a difference. Like it's like that annoying thing. It's like everyone's right. Like waking up early and like exercising and shit. Like it just feels good.
Yeah.
And I've just been really working on taking care of myself and getting into better habits, which is, I was gonna say cool, but it's super fucking lame. But it is cool too because I feel really good. So baseball's back. The nice weather, dude. I've been outside like every day. I just love it. So I'm feeling good. I'm actually going to a regional this weekend, so I'm excited. So I had to do a New England regional cast and play some doubles. So, should be a fun time. Yeah, I'm excited. I love the New England scene, and it should be a good one. So Paris will be there, Zamba. It'll be a good bracket. Brujo, the usual suspects will be there. So I'm pumped. I'm in a good mood. I've been sleeping well, been eating well, been exercising. Life is good, man. Gav, what's good?
Not much. I appreciated the weather, especially because I had an emergency vet visit, so it was kind of something nice. Because a lot of shit wasn't nice. Spent a lot of money on Frankie. He's okay now. He had like a blockage scare, like he wasn't using the litter box, which is, if anyone knows anything about like cats or pets, it's like one of the more dangerous things that can happen. But he's okay. So I'm just trying to scrounge up money for Japan now. But we'll see. But yeah, I have a local today, tomorrow. Kind of like has a situation, just doing a bit of local stuff, preparing for big events like Level Up and Japan. Been streaming. I played a little bit of Pacopia. B's really into it. I will say that game is like a massive hit right now, like massive, which is good. I think the Switch 2 needed another system seller. And one of the most popular things online right now is people saying like they want to get the console for Pacopia. So it sold like over a couple million copies in 2 days, which is huge.
Wow.
So yeah, it's cool to see that. Other than that, nothing too crazy. It kind of feels like the calm before the storm when it comes to Summer Smash stuff. I I've been practicing some very specific things in Smash. We might get into that later. Maybe some classic ranting from me that doesn't make any sense. Sorry to put all of my co-hosts through that, but we might have to do one of those today. Yeah, that's about it.
Sweet. Let's do it. Yeah, what are you doing, Marcus? Come on.
Come on, man. Like, it's gonna.
I hope Marcus might get it, but
I might.
I've been talking with the twins a lot, Lucky and Loaf, about Smash, like pretty much every day. I've been like telling them when I'm practicing, when I'm streaming, and like they look at it. We talk about things before and after, and we had this conversation like a week or two ago about like, okay, do you guys remember when I was talking about how the concept of like me/Diddy Kong becoming more of like a playmaker in recent months or years, like just because of like what you're up against? Like you kind of have to be a bit more dynamic and like make crazy plays if you want to keep up in some scenarios.
Yeah, you can't smash forward Diddy Kong. Like,
you can't be the
banana and
problem all the
shield.
time.
Yeah.
More often than not, you're like the problem solver, basically, which is like not ideal, but like in a way, it's kind of fun and thrilling. I was talking about like it's interesting to be in that position because Diddy Kong, at some points in Smash, has been like the guy you have to deal with, which is a lot easier to succeed with. It just became more of that in like a bigger scope of just like diving into that regardless of what character you are. And like I've been practicing trying to be like super fast and aggressive. Everyone talks about clip Gavin, blah blah blah. My girlfriend's always telling me like if you play like you're like a crazy person, you always do better, blah blah blah. So I've been like kind of trying to understand what it even means and practice and play with this in mind. And it's created a lot of ideas and thoughts. I'm not even exactly sure where to start. But yeah, that's what I've been talking about with my friends and something I've been keeping in mind when I practice. I think the hardest thing about it is that the more you forcefully try to tap into this type of thing, the more likely you are to like amp yourself up too much and get like tilted and like be reckless and like play poorly. It's so hard to like walk the thin line of like how crazy can I play without like losing because of it. It's difficult. But that's what I've been working on, and it's turned into a couple other ideas and things. It's very vague, but I've been trying to talk about it with friends and have all of us be on the same page, and I think we're getting somewhere with it. But yeah.
I think there's like a push and pull to that as well, where like if you're going crazy and you're going, our own versions of Clip Gav and like, really beating the piss out of people, the natural response to that is to get camped back. Like, wow, I really did not enjoy getting my ass beat super hard.
Marcus, he knows knows about this.
The Marcus, yes, that's true. Which is what
I finally saw it, bro.
But that is a big part of it, is like it's just natural. Like, is it all the time though? Like, is it sometimes like someone clips you and you're like, yo, I want to hit them back? And like, I think in tournament play, it's mostly the response is like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like player diffs where someone clips you and then they clip you right back. Like I think typically you think of like the faster players. Like I think Light responds in that way.
Like a Cola versus Light set. That's common to see, right? Like, oh, this one character got a handful of hard reads or reacted really well on tech chases, and then the stocks are just flying, right? Those two characters want to interact with each other because the reward is so high. So, like, generally, you're not going to see them running away from each other. They're at most going to be playing.
They would probably play like that regardless of what happened previously.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, yo, you want to swing at me? I'll swing right back. You know what I mean? It's like, instead of like, oh wow, I just got punched in the nose, I should probably like back up a little bit. Like which thing? It's really interesting now, like applying that concept to a lot of different top players and thinking about how they approach. It's obviously different in every matchup and every part of a bracket. And I assume like if you can kind of big dog a player, like if it's round one pools and you're like, I don't know, Mia or something, and they like clip you the first stock, it's like, oh damn, like I actually happened to Light at Genesis. He was like, I was down first stock against the Falcon who just like 0 to death me instantly. It's like, do you win the game? He's like, yeah, but you know, that's scary. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
obviously. But you know, swinging back is interesting too. And I guess knowing you and knowing like the clip Gavin mode that you go into, when it happens to you first, what do you think you like? What if they clip you? Like, how do you respond? I guess is an interesting thing to think about. Or how do you think you respond?
Well, couple things. First off, my brain will never perceive anything done to me as a clip ever.
All right.
There's no way anything they could possibly do would be interesting to me. That's the first thing that like it's honestly a helpful mindset. I've never like been hit and be like, that was so awesome. Like, hell no, what the fuck?
Really? You never thought like, oh fuck, like damn it.
No, it's like I dare you to post that on the internet. That shit sucked.
That's one way to not get told.
This is insane. Yeah, I didn't get clipped actually. That's
No, I didn't. I genuinely that's what I believe. But yeah, moving on. I don't know. A lot of this stems. It's kind of hard to answer because a lot of it stems from not looking for a response, but more so like making them play poorly in general because they're overloaded with information, which has always been part of my style, regardless if I have the intention of being fast or slow or whatever. It's like giving you so much to work with that like you just can't respond well. And just like building a play style around like how much I can make you deal with at once.
Well, I mean, if you look at the characters that you've struggled with in the past or even struggle with now, those kinds of characters
They
kind of
just
take those away, right? Like, oh, I'm Steve and I'm building a wall, or I'm Snake and I'm putting all these grenades here, or
Yeah.
I'm Rob and I set up a gyro here and I'm narrowing over here. It's like those characters have proactive strategies that make it so it is impossible or almost impossible for them to be even put into an overwhelming situation.
They're
So
dealing
it's
with
like-
maybe one thing at a time or zero things at a time. So it's even if Snake is on the ground shielding, Monkey Flip isn't actually strong because there's like a couple things nearby and he's not considering a second thing, which
Exactly,
is
yeah.
it's like when you're playing, you have to try to create. You always want them to deal with multiple things at once. The thing I've talked about for years and years is the hypothetical wolf, where your opponent is thinking of every wolf tool at once, like basic wolf tool, right? Like aerial grab, dash attack, laser. Those are like the main ones. But wolf players often make the mistake of doing one thing at a time on the flowchart. So the tools aren't incredible by themselves, but theoretically they could be a lot better if your opponent's at 200 and they're still afraid of laser, like as a simple example. So like it's like a style I've always been trying to mess with. And honestly, a lot of it stemmed from Cav Clash, which was like I went to a couple events, but then Cav Clash was like my best performance since taking a big break. And I lost to Peanut and Winners, and then I played M Popo's Rosa and Losers, and it was some of the best I've ever played. And it's a matchup I generally hate, and it's a perfect example of a matchup that turns off a lot of Diddy Kong's tools, and like it's kind of hard to overwhelm the opponent.
Yeah.
And it was just like it's one of those things where like the push and pull, or like you go like something happens and you're like, why don't I do this more or less? But that's that happened. I was like, why don't I just beat people up? I was just like I'm not even losing stocks, and this is like a hard matchup. Like, what is happening? And it is especially because like, you know, sometimes when you lose in Winners, you get a little carefree in Losers, you play better. Like that's always a possibility. And I made it all the way to like 5th or whatever. I like 3-0'd Spargo. I 3-0'd M Popo's Rosa, which is a tough matchup. I beat Toon Steve 3-1. And I was just playing it like fast and aggressive, and I've been kind of trying to dive deeper into the playmaking thing and like playing fast and aggressive and trying to really understand it and figure out how I want to do it if I want to continue doing it. And it's really ambiguous and vague, and I've had practice sessions where it went really well. I've had practice sessions where it clearly went way worse, especially if I just played like quote unquote normally or didn't think about it. I probably would have played way better. And it's a lot to think about. And if anything, it adds to the stress. like my last session, I just played super campy, like pretty much timing my opponent out. And it was amazing. I didn't like it was going great. I didn't lose any games. Like, but like the clips kind of started to funnel in as I was like playing them and like kind of, you know what I mean? Like when you're, it's kind of like overwhelming them in the opposite way. Like they're gonna start playing worse because you're just exhausting them and like taking so much time off the clock. Like, and then I messaged my friends. I'm like, I don't know what to do anymore because like I just sometimes the camping works, sometimes the aggro play works, and I guess obviously the easy answer is like play it by ear and let yourself be free and decide like what you need to do. But that's been what I've been working on. It's the most general thing ever. Like, usually I'm working on something crazy specific. What's up? What's up?
Okay, there's a lot. There's 2 million things to unpack here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'll start with like, you remember a long time ago, you probably don't remember this, but I asked like the general population if you think it's harder to fight someone who started playing out like really fast and then they slowed it down,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
if they started out playing really slowly and sped it up.
Yeah.
And I got a varying degree of answers, right? I don't,
Yep.
and I like the conclusion I got from that is basically it depends on the person you're playing against and also the character they're playing, right? It just seems like some people prefer certain play styles
Yeah.
that they want to play against. With that being said, I do believe there is a way to balance it, but it's more so like look at Sonic's. I feel like he's like the perfect example for this, right? In most
You never know what
scenarios,
can happen.
exactly right. It feels like in most scenarios, you're under the impression that Sonic's is going to be like super defensive, like it's gonna
Yeah.
take forever. The matches are going to time, and then sometimes he just like runs up and he just jabs you, and then like his offense just gets started from that, right? Or like he'll
Yeah.
send like three up airs in a row, and you're like, bro, what is even happening? Like, what happened to you
Mhm.
running to the edge and spinning? And it's funny because if you actually listen to that episode of Lights Out, which is kind of why I wish Light was here, we're here for this. He actually put your character in the problem category, not the problem solver category. But he said not to the same extent of like the snakes and all that, but he
Yeah.
did say that there is a problem presented to most characters that fight Diddy Kong.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I think that there's like when you're playing against people, maybe just like tapping it into identifying like what characters have that issue, or maybe like while you're playing, just noticing like this person is straight getting run over when I'm playing like super fast, right? But
Yeah.
like when I play like really slow, like they get a lot more opportunities than I like to give them. Or it's interesting because I also believe that with playing slow and playing it by character and like matchup, there's less room for you to blame yourself, like as a player. Like if something goes wrong, a lot of times it could be not. This isn't you specifically. I mean, this is just like in general, right? Like if you're playing like we'll just use Fox that I was talking about, Light. Like if you're playing like Fox and you're under the impression that you really have to take it slow and you're fighting Ice Climbers or Luigi, right? Like this is just how you have to play it. And like if something goes wrong, like, okay, bad matchup, I lose. Like in the end, is that like truly helpful? Where on the other hand, it's like, okay, maybe I have to take it slow, but I can try like seeing what I can get away with. And like if I can't get away with certain things, like
Yeah.
sure, like I lose a stock, which is like huge in like a general sense, but over the course of a set, especially if it's a 3 out of 5 set, like it's not really that huge because the information you get from that just allows you to like garner your playstyle. So I don't know what the true answer is, and I think that that's the fun part.
Every piece of
it.
logic can point in both directions. So it's
Exactly.
so you could argue for either side of the coin, like no matter what. And it's tough because I love what you have to say, but the thing that I would personally not like about it is deciding in the moment. I think best case scenario is you're able to decide the earlier the better, rather than deciding it like mid set, where like it might, I don't want to say it might be too late, but it's like a lot slower of a process. Because a lot of the stuff I practice, like, like the psychology stuff, blah, 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 like I'm getting the ball rolling before the first game even starts. And like it can add to a lot of consistency. But like this kind of thing, like sounds a little slow would be my only issue with it. But it's so hard because like, not to be super arrogant, but obviously I'm gonna be outplaying most people I play against. So the logic is like, do I play aggressive to overwhelm them and make them play poorly, especially since my execution is better or whatever you want to say? Or do I play slow because I'm better than them and they're gonna make a mistake? But like you can, everything points in both directions, like no matter what. And it's difficult. And it's also hard because you have to have such a deep understanding of yourself too. It's not as easy as just like, oh, what's going to work for me on any given day. It's like that's not even a difficult thing to answer either. So it's difficult.
I think what you're going through, every player goes through, even at the very beginning of their journey. It sounds, even when you're explaining it now, to me, it's
the tipping point. It's always like the scales are always like tipping, I feel like.
Right. And I think the general mentality, at least through my own experience, through the different Smash games I competed in, Ultimate's not even the one I competed the most in. So I can't really speak in terms of Ultimate front, because I took Ultimate seriously as a competitor maybe the first 6 months to a year. And then past that, it was more just like keeping up with the game and in terms of information wise for commentary / coaching. So I know in previous Smash iterations, it always kind of leaned towards the defensive option. So I would say that's more old school thinking, but it's interesting because you can say that's old school thinking, but if you watch, a top 8 within the last 6 months to a year, generally the defensive characters that take away options are shown to be very strong. And even Sonic, a character, this is one of the first characters that even did this in the first place, especially when Sonic started becoming strong in Smash 4. It was like, me going into the corner is usually a bad thing, but spin dash is so strong, and if I have the lead, I'm working with like the strongest anti-air, especially if we're talking Smash 4 wise, that was off the ground, and you couldn't really contest the move. So, I mean, Sonic operates way different now, but it's just going back and forth, and you can only get good at these aspects when you switch back and forth, right? Like you only get better at making those big plays when you actually go for them. If you're too scared to go for them, then you'll never have that champion's mentality of like, oh, I'm down, I have to gamble. Like essentially the more the bigger the percent deficit or the bigger the stock deficit generally against a really strong player that isn't going to give you free stocks by choking. But even when you see a match that is quote unquote choked, it's like the player knew the mental status of the other player and took big advantage. And instead of just getting a 30% punish, got a setup into a spike and cheesed them at 30 or 50 or what have you, right? Now, there's obviously just blatant mistakes where it's like, oh, that Fox hit an air and didn't confirm it to up smash, now giving X player another chance. So there are many situations, and I think this is the most common form of a quote-unquote choke, is when you just give the other player multiple chances to gamble, right? Because at the end of the day, when you have the lead, you have to gamble less. So it's like going back and forth is the hard part. And again, this is just through my experience growing as a player. I started off, I think most players start off being like, oh, I love pressing my buttons, I love doing the combos, right? Most players start off in that boat where you lean more towards aggression, and as you compete, you slowly get shown what the real world is like, and you get camped and you get timed out, and it even gets to the point. And I mean, even coaching Void from the very start of his Smash journey, it's like the main thing Void had to work on was, oh, hey, not everyone wants to fight me, because when everyone fights me, I just do more damage because I lab and I do all these combo things. That was what Void was known for, was his offense. But obviously a lot of top players, when they see that, they're like, okay, cool, how about I just don't interact with you? Yeah, exactly. Right.
Dude.
And this can happen in mid-match. This doesn't even have to be like, oh, I just know you as a player. Like, I know you're a top 10 player. And I know you're gonna, like, this happens mid-player or like middle of the pack players all the time. Like two tours fighting each other. This exchange happens almost instant right when you guys start playing. It's like, okay, who does more damage output? Who has stronger punishes, right? These are things you're gauging in the middle of the match. And I've coached many players even at the lower end, right? When it comes, like, I've coached top level players all the way down to like people just starting to get into the game. So it's like, this is something that every single level of player struggles with because it's just so hard. And I think when you have more experience, it gets even harder because you're looking for just a consistent answer, but it doesn't exist, right? It really comes down to, in the moment, you have to make guesses, right? And I think the strength of playing slower, then gathering information, like you said, and then making those big plays, you're hedging your bets, right? You're not just going right out the gate and being like, all right, I'm feeling spicy. Here comes the dash grabs in the corner. Here comes the dash attacks. Like, you know what I mean? And then you're just like, I'm just going to gamble it and just see if they're scared of me or not. And most players want to hedge their bets and they want to gather information first and then try to make the big gambles, make the big plays that have the big results, right? But at the end of the day, I think these types of things are so hard to get consistent because at the end of the day, it's an RPS situation most of the time in fighting games, right? Like, most of the time you can break them down to RPSs and you're not always going to be right. You're not always going to be Daigo getting like the Daigo uppercuts, right? So I think it's really hard to gauge. And I think this is where the real experience shines, especially because this is also amplified. Like, you can talk about this all day long and then you bring nerves into it. And then it throws every piece of data you've gathered completely out the window, because the hardest part about playing under pressure and when you're nervous is you don't have a large sample size. You're especially the more and more you compete and the more seasoned you get, then it's like, okay, I only get nervous at, top 32, or, even when most players start off, it's like, oh, that match to get out of pools, like that, how my peers see me is putting pressure on me. And also depending on how attached you are to the result. Do you think players that don't get out of pool are shit? Or do you think like, oh, if I get out of pools, I'm half decent? And even that small scale of, I guess, just like how you feel about yourself in Smash can get a lot of players nervous, right? And then obviously as you get more experience and getting out of pools seems pretty easy, right? It's kind of like whatever, I always get out of pools, right? Then it's the next thing. It's like the top 64, the top 32 qualifiers, then the top 8 qualifiers, then closing out the tournament, right? There's so many levels to it and you have such little sample size to go off of. So I think that's the hard part, because at the end of the day, you're really trying to figure out all this stuff because you want to be able to make the correct decision when it matters, right? Do I camp right off the rip? I mean, obviously it's like super matchup dependent, but it's just so hard to gather that data. And I feel like it's one of the biggest gray areas across all levels of play. And I love topics like this because I feel like you can talk to any level of player and get a really good insight on it, whether your experience matches up or not.
Yeah,
sorry, that was like a super long rant, but yeah.
Oh, you're good, man. It's classic. I think I like that we're talking about, because I think that's true too, Charles, not just in Smash, but like in competition in general. Like, defense wins championships, like playing slow is like typically better or more consistent, right? But I also like putting the emphasis on being able to pressure is so important, and like being able to know when to pressure, how to pressure. Obviously in Smash it's character, player specific, and just being able to choose. It's almost like trying to make the right choice at the right time as to when to shift into that gear versus when to slow it down. And it almost feels like, that it's like a Sojak meme where in the beginning it's like the guy's like an idiot and then like the chart goes up a ton and it's like, you know the meme I'm talking about? You know the format? No, Gavin? I'll send it to you.
No.
And then at the end, he's like a Jedi, like he's super smart, like he's super big brain. So the idiot would be like,
Smash.
Yeah, the idiot is like Daigo would be a great example. Yeah, I think I didn't explain it well.
Yeah,
but it's like mashing and rush down is good and cool. And then like as you get better, you're like, actually camping is like the real shit. And then it goes back down. It's like, actually, hold on, actually rush down, actually mashing and shit, especially
it's like
Smash.
The Mars skit from Summit, basically.
Yes, that great way to put it, which I'm glad that resurfaced. I forgot about that skit. It's so funny. It's such a good one. But it reminds me of that in that way, where it's like, especially in Smash Ultimate, the two things people complain about the most are you're a masher or you're a camper. There's no in between. Like, you're one or the other. You're an asshole one way or the other, and pick your poison. And I think it's just important to put out that idea that you need to be able to do both, because at some point your fast is going to be clashing with their fast, and your fast is going to be clashing with their slow, and their slow is going to be clashing with your slow, and their slow is going to be clashing with your fast. So it's like you need to be able to figure out and play all those speeds head to head, and it's different for every player, every skill level, every character, and I think that's a part of what makes the game so interesting. Like, there's such a different. That's like what makes me think of that push-pull kind of dynamic, because if you slow down and I'm going slow, it's like, do I speed up now? Do I go slower? Like, how does that all kind of work, Marcus?
Yeah, I'm back. Well, okay, because Chuck says something. Why did we start this conversation today, man? Like, because this is something. These are things I love, right? So,
This is some deep shit, bro.
Chuck mentioned, oddly enough, there's like a gray area, right? And I think this is more of like a personal thing. When I wanted to be the best that I could be at Smash, I actually wanted to operate from that gray area. I actually thought, like, the idea was that even though I played Min and like, yeah, I'm halfway across the stage, my thought was that, like, I never want to be in a spot where someone can tell that I'm just about to throw an arm, but I also don't want to be so close that I'm like in danger, right? So I always had this like middle ground of like, okay, can they really guess what I'm about to do next from like these like this area of the stage? Like, because I played kind of weird, right? Like, if you like look at me compared to like most women's, like I did a lot of like rising nairs and like a lot of like weird anti-airs and just full send dash attacks or full send dash grabs. And yeah, they're like a little risky, but like I also like I had thrown so many arms that like my brain is like, okay, they're probably gonna jump, or like, okay, they're probably gonna shield. And like I felt like
that's the strength of the character is
right.
It's not necessarily that you're all the way over there. It's that they're on the back foot naturally. That's like that's the big W there, is that their shield is always lower than yours, or they're always on the back foot. So like that's basically sorry.
Yeah, and you have a small it's not nearly the same, right? But you kind of have that where like you have a banana throw.
In some scenarios it's better.
You have you have a way to always be gray, essentially. And
I'm pretty good at that too.
I'm curious if that is where you'll probably end up. Because I feel like you end up, depending on like how things are going, you start leaning toward one side. Like depending on like, and it's not really like sometimes it's your like training sessions, but there's also, it's usually the tournament losses that like sway, or that's not even true, because sometimes it's the tournament successes. Like you have like a really strong win against someone you normally don't beat, or like you win a tournament and like this one play style is going strong the whole way through, and you're like, this is that wave.
It's the rising fair thing we talked about, where I'm looking for something that works all the time, even though it's impossible.
Particularly in Ultimate, or I mean, depending on the character you play.
I think it's just what I've always done, and to try to win in Smash is like I'm trying to find the recipe. But
I think there was more of those recipes in Smash 4. Is like my
Brawl is what I was thinking. Like,
or Brawl, maybe. Like I think the older the game, those recipes were more available.
I will say,
like answers.
I don't want to be arrogant, but for Smash 4, I think as a player, I think I had the game like more than 95% solved. Like maybe even more than that. It like, I don't know if y'all remember, but towards the end of Smash 4, like I had that shit pretty solved. It was kind of crazy. But what I wanted to reiterate about the aggression and playing fast is it's 100% not dash attacks or dash grabs or any of that stuff I taught. It's not that.
Right.
it's not about being riskier than my opponent. It's about the intention of doing all of my crazy setups and tech skill and playing in a way that wins the numbers game, but like aggressively, and making them play poorly and making them play in the mud, but not me. But in a more like aggressive, like starting, like making it happen quicker than if I was on the defensive. Like I'm not gonna be risky or do smash attacks. It's not like a crazy weird change in play style necessarily. It's the same things I've always done, but with more intent behind it on the fast end of things. It definitely made some matchups harder. It made some sessions harder. And a huge conclusion that I came to is it doesn't really matter too much what choice I make. Like it's very likely I could win the game regardless of the choice I make, but I have to make sure I'm equally calm depending on like what side of the coin I choose, because if you pick one or the other and you start to associate it with certain types of emotions or anything, like it's all about being calm at the end of the day so you're able to execute. But yeah, it's hard. It's very difficult, especially when you have one session that goes really well and it might come as a surprise, or you might have some sort of intention and it goes poorly. But yeah, like I even had I did 3 locals in a row. I actually talked about this on Patreon bonus content. Well, it was like a regional and 2 locals. It was like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. On Thursday, it went really well. Like I didn't lose any games or anything. Like I wasn't even really thinking about the style. Like, you're kind of just playing. And then on Friday, I won, but like it was a little dicier. Like I lost a game here or there. But I had a really nice set against Steve that I thought overall went good. And then on Saturday, I lost to Fawn's Duck Hunt in winners, which is a tough matchup. But then I ended up winning the tournament through losers, and I kind of played a little more aggressive. You know what I mean? Like kind of like the Cav Clash scenario where the regional was actually crazy on Saturday. After my first couple rounds, from a Diddy Kong POV, you have to think of this. My matchups were Pac-Man, Duck Hunt, Samus, Duck Hunt, Lucario. And I won, and I was pretty proud of myself. Especially like winning against Duck Hunt in the run back. Shouts to Fawn. I think Fawn and I like kind of think about the game in a similar way. We always have cool conversations. But I pulled less banana. I was playing really aggressive. I was getting a bunch of crazy moments and doing a lot of damage and just kind of mauling my opponent. Like, like the whole mindset of like trying to make them make mistakes immediately, put them on the back foot, try to get them to play poorly, blah, blah, blah. It's like Marcus said, a lot of it probably does depend on what happened in tournaments. So who knows? Maybe I either need to tap into that more or less, or who knows? It's just weird. It's weird because
I think. Go ahead,
go
Chuck.
ahead.
Yeah.
I just think not to generalize it too much, but I just feel like especially matchups that it's harder for Diddy Kong to play slow because banana is not as big of a factor, so your range is cut. Are those the matchups where you feel like you just generally have to be more offensive, right? Like it's harder to.
You could argue both. It's hard because you could argue you hold the banana forever until you get a chance, or you could argue you play
and make that one chance like crazy optimal or what have you. It just feels like you have to make more. Like this is how I just think of bad matchups in general. If a matchup is bad, your defensive options in that matchup is probably not that great, which thus makes it so you have to take more risks in the matchup. It's still winnable, but you cannot take the low risk options you usually take in other matchups that might be easier, but you could still lose those low risk matchups, right? Where it's like you versus Ryu, for example. Like you in that matchup, you can take very low risks and get very high reward. So like my opinion of the matchup, and I think we all agree here, is Diddy Kong beats Ryu. And Diddy Kong kind of does well versus a lot of the fighting game characters, right? So
I think Ashimo's in on the podcast. That's what I'll say.
Bro, he was arguing for it. It was kind of interesting, but
I
yeah,
mean,
we all
I don't
agree. Do
I
not
don't
worry.
think
We all
that's
agree.
Just kidding. I'm just
I
kidding.
don't
yeah.
think it's concrete. I like if you wanted to
It's pretty
spark up an
concrete.
argument because Ryu fire something
I think it
Ryu
is. I think it
fireball.
is too, but I respect Ashimo for disagreeing, but I do not agree with that guy. Yep.
But hey, I mean, maybe he thinks since Diddy Kong is light and
Yeah.
you know the hurt box size isn't that big of an issue because Ryu has a bunch of low hitting moves that can confirm into powerful moves. I could see that. I could see an argument where it's like maybe it's not as bad. Maybe it's not 60-40, maybe it's closer to even or what have you, right?
Yeah.
But I think in general, when I'm thinking about a Diddy Kong matchup and a matchup that Diddy Kong wins, Diddy Kong can play at ranges that are very low risk to him. And since these low risk options lead to pretty big conversions, even sometimes smash attacks for the stock, that's where Diddy Kong can just take a bunch of low risk options and still end up on top. But then the matchups that Diddy Kong struggle, you got to play a bit closer, which means higher risk, right? So you just generally have to take more risk. And even watching, you know, just you competing through Ultimate, I think you've had phases in Ultimate where you just couldn't kill your opponent. You would take the Omega low risk option too often, and your opponent would be at like 180 all the time, and you're still taking low risk options, but I think there's a tipping point. Right. Like there's a tipping point where it's like, okay, if I keep taking,
that's what me and you say.
If you keep taking too much low risk options in a row, then you give your opponent, like, they still have to take risks, but the reward for their risk ends up being higher. So overall, maybe that was a not so great decision because now they have this window of max rage, right? So it's like, okay, cool. I still have to take these risks to hit you. But if I hit you and I roll the dice correctly and I get this RPS right, I got max rage and I can either push you so far off stage or away from my character that it gives me frame advantage to set up for the next situation, the next advantage state, or I just outright take your stock. And I think that big balance is like to kind of like pinpoint it more in an area where there's, you know, gauged risk reward.
So last thing for me, I want to talk about what Marcus said about the gray area, and like Charles was also talking about it too. I guess all three of you were talking about it in your own way, actually. It's a conclusion I often come to all the time, right? I've had this cycle my entire life of play really aggressive, destroy people, make combo videos, go to a tournament, play aggressive, lose in a way that I wouldn't have if I just chilled out.
Get
you know,
the
you get
buzz.
hthen you play defensive, but then you don't play the trigger when you're too defensive, and you're just like, what am I doing? I'm so good at this game. I should just take my opportunities, blah, blah, blah. It's repeating. So the gray area is obviously something you're going to think about. And for me, the gray area is doing all of my fast, crazy things, but keeping my intent masked and doing it in a way where it's not about defense or offense. It's more about neutral and trying to see how my opponent responds, if they respond at all. And basically, I play in a way where it's like you can't tell if I'm aggressive or defensive to begin with, which is always really cool. It's just hard because a lot of the time, because the thing with offense, right, is you associate it with the dash grabs and dash attacks and smash attacks we talked about, which is an issue. And then there's the issue of too defensive means like sitting in place or shielding. And like all players make this mistake when they tap into it too much. So like the gray area is nice because all of those expectations with these terms are kind of thrown away if you're playing super fast and crazy, but you're not even approaching. Like you're kind of doing a bit of everything, or in a way you're kind of doing nothing. So that's a conclusion I always come to, like kind of what Marcus said, where I'm doing all my pop gun cancels, I'm weaving in and out of certain burst ranges, but I still have banana in hand the whole time. I'm not locking myself in place, but I'm also moving in like more of a micro way. That's like, I don't want to say the perfect world, but it's definitely a conclusion I've come to. But then sometimes even that, like being a little too fidgety or bursty, has its own issues too. So it is a difficult journey, dude. It is really fucking difficult. And I think, like Charles said, everyone's going through it from day 1 to day 1 million. Like when it comes to something like Smash, like I think the examples of Sonics and Light are great too. Like I would love to hear what Sonics would have to say, because I'm sure he's been struggling with this from day 1, because he's had such immense success with both sides of the coin. Like literally major winning levels of success with either one. And same with myself. And it makes it more difficult to decide what you want to do. Like sometimes Sonics is beating people in 30 seconds. Sometimes he's beating them in 30 hours.
Right.
I know you have to go.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe we'll continue this later. Real quick, I play a lot of TFT, and like I'm kind of getting pretty good. I'm not like challenger or anything, but I'm pretty close. And there's this concept of like playing flexibly in TFT, right? Which like a lot of people can't really truly understand, but basically it's like you give yourself an option to play as many lines as possible, so you don't like so you always have an out, right?
Yep.
It's the hardest way to play.
It is the hardest way to play by far, but there's two things about it. One, you generally won't cap out as high. Like your board strength by the end of it won't be as high unless like
this is Yu-Gi-Oh.
Hey, it's
a good game.
Kind of. So. Well, TFT is. So I hope you're saying Yu-Gi-Oh is a good game because TFT is not. Anyway, okay, yeah, we're in the same boat.
Oh, maybe they are the same game, yeah.
Yeah, they're both.
And there's also the concept which you kind of mentioned of like you load in a 2-1, you are or 1-1 or whatever. You already know what you're gonna do, and like you just play that line, and sometimes you just win. Like you just load. You're like, hey. This is just like stuff's coming to me, and they call it like high rolling usually. Like if like the things just come to you and like you just cap out your board and you just went out. Like yeah, sometimes you high roll and like you play somebody, you go on with your plan and everything works out. But sometimes you go in there and it doesn't work out and you're a first or eighth player. That's what they call it. You'll be a first or eighth player.
What if they're Nibiru or a Mole Charmy, dude?
You don't want to be a first or eighth player, and you've always been very, very flexible. But sometimes you just need to tap into that first or eighth, like, and hey, we either gonna win or we gonna lose. Like, yeah. But it's hard in tournament, right? And everyone will matter.
That was also something that came with the aggressive mindset that I really liked when I talked with Lucky and Love was if you lose harder because of it, try not to avoid the playstyle because of that result. Think of it as like cutting the fluff and you just got to the end result that could have happened even if you played slow.
You low rolled.
I love that. I love that idea of like how like basically that's probably the best I could explain it. It's like if you lose faster, it's like damn, I was at a deficit and I lost faster. Like instead of thinking like it's all your fault, it's like that result could have happened regardless.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's not my favorite thought process in the world, but it does help add like a little bit of extra layering to an already risky decision you made. But yeah, I do have to go. Hopefully you guys can wrap it up without me. I'm gonna go to a local and probably just camp. So
viewership. Okay, that was terrible. Good God. Well, we can sign off too, but I think dang, I mean it's so tough without Gavin because he obviously fuels the conversation, especially in deep concepts like this so well. But one thing I'll say is that this is, I think, one thing that really fuels this and how it's a never-ending topic or internal struggle is because it's just one piece of the puzzle too. Like it's just one thing that's going on. Like the tempo that you play at is only one piece of the game. Like there's so much more. How are you performing technically that day? If you play other characters, how are they? Are you warmed up? Are you hungry? Like are you checking? Like what boxes are you checking on top of that? Plus it's one decision that's being made in the game. Like it's crazy. Like obviously it's a high level concept, so there's a lot to it, but there's so much that feeds into why or how you would do these things, which I really appreciate. I think you can apply it to so many things in life, especially competitive stuff. So I think it's cool. It's just one part of the process. But again, it's something we could talk about for days, which is sick, which is very cool. I can't believe you mentioned Yu-Gi-Oh. That sucked.
I mean, my best.
Yeah, that was a little bit your fault. So, guys, in Genshin Squadra, when I play Dragon Ball Unite, let me tell you about how this applies. My top 500, yes, it's fine. No big deal.
Of course.
Okay.
I think one of the cool things Gavin mentioned was movement. And I think movement is the key to keep your opponent guessing whether you are trying to have defensive intentions or offensive intentions, right? And I think when I think of really sick movement, obviously it's I mean players that come to mind: Tweek, Leo had very good movement, especially early on in the game. Right, Mars has very innovative movement ideas. Like I think players like this are extremely flexible, and I mean, this sounds newer, but I just missed when I used to watch Smash and just I used to see that type of innovative movement get rewarded. Now I feel like there's so much proactive strategies that don't promote cool and interesting and innovative movement to gain advantages. It's more of like I'm going to set up my little fortress and like I guess there's innovation in how you set up the fortress, and there's still really obviously like Steve has a bunch of tech, right? And even watching Hurt plays very quickly, so it's more of just like the overwhelming aspect. But I love it. I think platform fighters in general are at its best in a viewer perspective. And I mean, I can't speak for the whole player base, but at least when I play a platform fighter and I feel like it has sick movement, that's what entices me to play. Like that's what feels fun is when at least like when I play the game, when I do some kind of sick movement sequence into like some kind of tricky mix up, that's what gives me, you know, the satisfaction in the game. It feels very good to do that. I mean, I'm sure it's similar for you guys too, but it's yeah, I just think movement is kind of like that puzzle piece in the middle, and the more you work on your movement, then you can kind of mask your intentions, and that really what is what it comes down to, right? You're trying to do something, but you don't want your opponent knowing what your intentions are, and yeah, I think it's a very fun topic to talk about because I think every person can relate to it that's ever played Smash, and it's so weird because you're told to be result orientated with your research or whenever you're trying to figure this stuff out, but you're also told not to be too result orientated, right? Like even Gavin was saying earlier before he left, like, oh, I can go for this aggressive play, but you can't really get hung up by the result of the aggressive play. At the end of the day, if you gamble and you got the low roll, you got the low roll, right? And then there's going to be times when you gamble and you get the high roll and you get the stock, right? There's always it's so hard because there's no one way to do it. Like you have to not take the result and take the result at the same time and try to extract the most information to improve your play to get it as consistent as possible. But it's so weird because you're trying to chase consistency, but it's literally impossible because you're fighting another player, right? Like no matter how good at the game you think you are, you will never know 100% what your opponent's going to do all the time. It's just impossible. You might be above average and know most of the time what most players are going to do, but you know it scales very quickly as you get higher and higher up the rankings, right?
Yeah, and I think that's like where the push-pull that I talk about comes from is like there's no real 100, and that's the thing is like Gavin's looking for that magic bullet, like number, like it's just going to solve every problem, which I totally respect, but this is why from the low level to the top level, this is a concept that will always apply is the push-pull or the aggressive, and I think something that's so important too is like it's not just about changing the speed, and I think Gavin did a good job highlighting this where you can't be like, I'm going to play aggressive now and just swing like an idiot. I mean, you kind of can a little bit, but you need to like calculate, and you can't just be like mashing uncontrollably and become predictable, or because then you're just swinging at air, or you're getting parried, or they're, you know, whatever, whiff punishing you or whatever the punish is. And same with camping. Like if you don't know how to camp and you're like, I just got my ass beat because I rushed in, they back through me and then killed me, you know, off stage. And it's like, oh, I'm going to camp now. And if you don't, what does that mean? You know, like how do you do that? Like how does that apply to what your character does or how you play? I think when we say like I'm going to play aggressive or I'm going to camp, all of us, Gavin included, or anybody listening, we all picture something a little different. You know, like the concept is the same. It's like sitting on the back foot and playing defensively or waiting. But what does that actually add up to or really look like? I think it's a little bit different for everybody based on their experiences and what characters they play, what region they play in, how fast they play, how they move, which just really adds another layer of, you know, another dynamic layer to what we're talking about, which, dude, it's such a, it doesn't sound, it sounds like fake deep at first, but then when you really talk about it, you're like, holy shit, like this really, think of all the different games that we've watched of Smash Ultimate, all the hours and days of time, and how many times that push-pull has happened. It's kind of like, it's like seeing the Matrix or something. Like you can go back and like watch those sets and see how people really pushed each other and whatever. It's so cool. I mean, I think Light is a great example. We talked about that, so yeah, that's cool. Marcus?
I'm too locked, bro. I'm too locked. Because, like,
Yep.
I'm glad you mentioned that, the idea that when you say, like, playing fast or playing offensively or playing aggressively looks different for everyone, because it truly does. And I don't even think, it's kind of, like, based on the characters you play, but also I think if, like, we all sat down and we pulled up a VOD or like a situation and like you said, how would you approach this differently? And you wanted to be more offensive, I think we would all give a different answer. And I think that's what's kind of interesting about it. It may be similar in the same vein of like, I may have like positioned myself a little differently, or I may have like pressed earlier, or I may have chosen a different offensive option, or I may have, but some people will see offense and they'll say, I just would have moved forward a little bit, but I wouldn't have pressed anything, because that's still a version of offense, right? Like you don't have to press anything to be offensive. So some people would argue that you do though. So that's like the interesting thing about it, right? Where like we all see things differently, and that's mostly why there's no real answer to this. And I mean, that's the conclusion we'll always come to, is that there's no way to answer it. Like that's why you compete. It's like to kind of come to your own answer and figure out like the way that you think about it, and if your way is better than other people's ways, essentially. And then at the end of the day, like you're just trying to prove that you are better than everyone else. And yeah, some of that comes like with character, but some of it also comes with like you as a player and being able to just like identify your spot, which is like a whole nother conversation, because I think a lot of people can't really identify their spot. When I say spot, I mean like let's say I'll bring another game into it because it's super easy, even though it's kind of like a closed board game and it's like solved. But like let's say you're playing chess and like there's a line you're doing, and like there you could take the idea of like, I can follow this line and there's one winning path, or I could take like a closer line where like there's a bunch of there's like 3 or 4 different outs, essentially. Like the one winning path, you have to like do everything correctly, but you're guaranteed to win, right? And then there's like the other idea of like, okay, but I could just like dial back a little bit and like have a few outs and play a little safer, and I'll still might be able to win, but it's not guaranteed, right? And like you can just identify your spot and like how you're feeling that day, how you're playing that day, how your opponent's playing that day. And that could just easily be applied to Smash in the same way, where like you just load up and you're like, you're playing. And I think spots obviously can change, which is kind of where the video I made a long time ago about a refresher is like understanding like spots change in real time, and it's happening very fast. With like chess, it's like unless you're playing like Bullet or something, you're like 1 minute interval. If you're in classical, you have like an hour and a half, right? So you can really just look at what's happening. But in Smash, it's like happening rapidly. So just being able to like really pick and choose, which is interesting that Gavin said he doesn't like the idea of doing it like mid-set, because I feel like you have to do it mid-set. But maybe, I mean, he's always better than I was, right? So like maybe he's tapped into something that I haven't tapped into.
Yeah, but he's so good. Like he can, like who's to say he wins because he decides to camp off rip and it's a 2-stock? But who's to say if he didn't switch halfway through, it would have been a 3-stocker? So he's just so good.
That's true.
A tough part with him. You know who's great at switching from defense to offense? Hey, shout out to Bam, man. 83 points. Come on. What do you got to say about it, Marcus?
Hey, it was a good week, man. Hey, did you see that RDC skit?
No, I haven't.
Oh my gosh, I
Send
got
it to me.
Wilt, Bam, Kobe. That joint gets me. I need to send it to you, bro.
No,
that joint is clean. Yeah, I'm good on that, man.
Yeah. So
I think I have one more point on it. Is when I competed a lot, the way I would generally think about it, because I think generalizing it helped me a lot. Because so when I'm fighting another player, it's like, okay, there's a couple of different things that can happen, right? There's your defense versus my defense. We're both camping each other. usually how the game starts. You want to feel each other out, right? Most of the time, that's how it starts. But there's also my defense, your offense, and then your defense, my offense, or both are offenses. So I kind of simplify the game into 4 different states, and they're switching between offense and defense. You're switching between offense and defense. And I feel like both players are trying to just figure out which 4 of the states is the best. It's like, okay, like say, for example, the Buzz, right? I think the Buzz prefers a situation where it's his defense versus somebody else's defense. I think just from my observation, and obviously, the Buzz also has offensive plays off. Like, you don't get that good by not having a good offense or not having a good punish game, right? But just in general, I think the Buzz strives the most when it's that defense on defense, right? And then there's players that have overwhelming offense that can crush his defense. So when the Buzz is playing against a player like that, it's usually like someone that can bully Luma, without having any risk, any sword character versus like a Smash 4 Rosa or even an Ultimate Rosa, stuff like that. So the Buzz is trying to create situations where it's like, okay, I need to negate X player's offense. And for example, Void used to struggle versus the Buzz a lot because his offense wasn't overwhelming enough against the Buzz, right? So then Void has to play like this defense on defense against the Buzz, which is really, really hard. So I think just even thinking about those different types of phases within the game, and if you struggle within one of those phases, that's something you can work on, right? Like, oh, maybe my defense, I can't really snuff out people's offense with my defense. That can be a problem, especially if you have the lead and you want to take more of a defensive stance rather than like going the double down route and just being offensive all the time. And you can just lose your lead really, really quick, or you could, gain an even bigger lead. But yeah, those, just to put a bow on it, I guess.
Agreed. That was good. Dang, we don't have Gavin here to take us out. I'll give it a shot. Thanks for watching, y'all. We do Patreon content every week. Patreon.com/Tweek Talks. Gavin does lessons on Metafy. Metafy.com/@Tweek. Is that right?
Yeah.
Maybe Tweek SSB 1 to 2.
Yeah, hold on.
Oh, it's on the screen.
Oh, well, that works.
Tweek?
Metafy, yeah, shout out to producer Chris. Metafy.gg/@Tweek. Oh, I was right. Cool.
Yeah. You nailed it.
I did great. That's why they paid me the medium bucks. Hey, nice job. That was fun. Good seeing everyone. And take care, y'all. See you next week.